Welcome back to another reading and correcting. With me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing Chapter 15 of The Captain's Heart. Jeremy pushed another slot of wood beyond the edge of the box. It had stopped looking like a box a while back. It looked like a ball of spike, a hedgehog with dull spine rolled on one side, rolled on itself for protection. It was a good thing the box's content seemed stable in it, because he wouldn't be able to have it rest evenly on the side table until he either opened it, if that resulted with the flat underside, with a flat underside, or reversed the work he'd already done. At this point, he wasn't confident he'd remember how to get to where he was again. He couldn't believe this was something he'd enjoyed as a kid, although it would certainly make for a safe place to store things. He ignored the door chime to search for the next piece to slide. He ignored it when it chimed the second and third time. Come on, Jeremy. Omar's voice came over the intercom. Don't make me override the lock. Just let me in. He sighed. That was the problem with your friend being your doctor. A few taps on the tablet and the door unlocked. Omar stepped in, looked at the mess, and leaned against the closed door. Thought you were going to clean up. Taking a break after the day I had, he said under the piece. What's that? What do you want, Omar? Whoa, what's got into you? I just came by to let you know we were meeting for dinner so you could join us. I'm going to pass. I don't feel like being around people right now. Come on, don't isolate yourself. You know it's not good for you. Jeremy glared at his friends. I'm not isolating, I'm resting. Today was stressful. The cats? Omar asked, tone serious. Jeremy shrugged and set the box next to him on the bed. It was fine at first. Kind of amazing, really, their reactor. The ship's built their ship's built using a completely different thought process than ours, and so what stressed you? Did the pills work? I can print you something stronger if you need it. They worked, and I only needed one when Growler showed up. Who's that? Ship's captain. You're on a first-name basis with a cat? Jimmy stared at the men. He's the captain, and it's not his name. It's what I was told to call him. I am definitely not going to call him a cat. That's insulting. And seeing him stressed you? Jimmy snorted. You haven't seen him. He's like this predator. Big and lean, the stomach protested in the memory of those golden eyes, arms, chest, legs. He shook his head to clear it. After that, I needed to rest and get my mind off everything. He hesitated. Is your offer to talk to the commander still open? Now it was Omar's turn to hesitate. No. I expressed my concern to him regarding your health, and his response was to the effect that unless I was able to go there and fix their reactor, you'd keep at it until it was done. Thanks for trying. Tension left his body. I guess I'm going to have to hope working on this helps then. He showed Omar the box. What is this? What is it? A puzzle box. My mom found it among my stuff and sent it. Curious as to what's in it, but it's proving a lot harder than I thought. Why not just scan it? That's I'll tell you what's in it. What's the fun in that? He set it down again. Look, I appreciate you checking on me, but I'm fine. I am fine. I'm not cutting you off. I'm not cutting you or the others off. I just need some time on my own. If the gang does something tomorrow, I'll be there, I swear. Omar didn't look satisfied, but nodded. You know that my door my door is always open. Always open if you need to vent about what you have to endure. If it gets to that point, I'll bang on your office door. His friend chuckled. If you need to, don't wait for office hours. You know where my quarters are. Honor of the clock. If I need to, I'll find you. Oh, okay. Omar hesitated before opening the door. Oh, and Jeremy, clean up this place, will you? Yes, Dad. Then he was alone with the puzzle box. Unfortunately, Omar had made him lose track of where he'd been at. He now had the sense there was a sequence, but he had yet to work it out. He set the box on the bedside table and went to his drafting. The box down. Doesn't matter. It doesn't exactly matter where he puts it down. He set the box down and went to his drafting table. Might as well deal with that, since he'd need it tomorrow. He transferred the scan to it, then set about assembling them. The yawn interrupted his stare. His is staring at the reactor schematic. His intent of running simulated power through the board was thwarted by the fact he'd never gotten base reading on Kelsirian circuits. He could use the scans from the walls, but the designs were different, which could mean the material resistance and conductivity would be might be too. The reactor had to process the raw power, which reminded him he hadn't asked Turek about how that power was channeled. If it was like the reactors on the station, it would go through a capacitor bank as a way of regulating it. Something else that had been interrupted by his inexplicable freak out. He saved the schematic and sent a copy to his tablet, then showered and fell into bed. He'd clean up like he'd promised before heading to the Kelsirian ship tomorrow. He looked over his shoulder, unable to shake the feeling there was someone, it was someone, right? Behind him. But the corridor was empty as far as he could see. A straight line without intersections that vanished into infinity. No one could sneak up on him. That knowledge didn't comfort him, but he resumed walking. There was something ahead of him he needed to do, a place he needed to be, beyond the forest. The weight in his hand was his tool bag, so it was work-related. But it wasn't all. There was something else. Something tugged at his heart. His stomach somersaulted as he looked down and saw the glow of it pulsating. It seemed larger than it should be. The glow took too much of his chest, and he didn't understand why. He froze at the knowledge of danger. He looked behind him, and he could still make out the corridors among the trees. There was something there. The roar came from ahead of him, something terrifying, and after him. Jeremy searched among the banners, trying to make out what stalked him. He wanted to run, but he couldn't decide in what direction. Towards safety, he knew, but couldn't tell where that was. Ahead? Ahead or behind? And the danger seemed to be in both places, too. When he saw something ahead that made his mouth go dry, a glint of gold as a banner moved in the wind, a menacing form, something sharp. He had to run in the opposite direction, but there was something behind him, something he didn't know he could trust. It touched him. Jeremy screamed and fought. It had him. It was all around him, suffocating him. He fell with another scream, then had the breath pushed out of him by the boot he landed on. His bedsheet fell over him. With a curse, he grabbed the boot and threw it across the room. Fuck, he needed to clean his room. He grabbed the sheet and chuckled. He'd gotten tangled in it. No wonder the dream had been about him about being smothered. Although there had been something else. Someone else? Trees. Maybe poles? He placed a hand over his heart and felt it slow. Something about needing to be safe. To be safe. To find. He couldn't remember what, or anything else. Only this sense of needing something. He brought up the time and got his day started. He grabbed the boots and threw them in the closet on his way to the shower. Once clean, he had a leisurely breakfast of steak and eggs and printed dried meat for when he got hungry. He was going to make a complete day of it. No running off. Although the idea of running into Growler again unsettled him. He tried. Ugh. He tried to settle his stomach, but he had to take a pill. No matter how predatory he seemed, Growler was a merchant and a captain. Both of the both of both of those required him to be able to think, which meant that no matter how much he made Jeremy think of a mindless animal, he couldn't be that. So, if he came asking for an update again, Jeremy wouldn't freak out. He chuckled. What he'd do was tell him to go back to the bridge where he belonged and let him do his job uninterrupted. Same as he did whenever one of the scientists came demanding when he'd have the new design a new design finished. Jeremy looked over his shoulder at the empty corridor. Doors lined it, and 50 meters further in was an intersection. 20 meters beyond that was a door he'd entered through. He couldn't shake the feeling there was something wrong about it, but couldn't work out what, other than it was deserted. Same with the corridor ahead of him, more doors to intersection, and a lift down to the heavy cargo bay. There should be something. There was danger ahead, safety. Was that what the dream had been about? Well, he knew why he hesitated to continue. There might not be danger ahead, but stress was a high probability. He forced ahead against the barely remembered dream's protest. He had work to do, and it would take more than a dream for him to walk away from his duty and into the he had work to do, and it would take more than a dream for him to walk away from his duty and into the threat of the commander's wrath. The lift door opened onto the deserted dock, but at least now he knew why it was such. They were only used for when heavy cargo was delivered, and these days, that would only happen if they needed to expand the station. The previous equipment had been broken down for the materials to be used in finishing the station. There were 2 Kelsirians in the ship's entrance this time. Turek and the guard, who was silver-furred, with a wide muzzle and large hands. They were talking until the guard noticed him and stiffened. Jeremy, Turek called. Glad you returned. I said I would. He slowed under the silver-furred Kelsirian's gaze. He couldn't help imagining threat in those bright blue eyes. It's okay, the brindled-furred one said. She knows you work. I explained. She? Jeremy looked down before he realized what he'd done. By the time he snapped his head up, they were looking at him. The silver-furred one spoke. Her voice was deep enough. He felt it in his bone, but not as strongly as when Growler did. I am so sorry, he said, ears burning and having to fight the urge to cover his face. I can't tell your gender, and because you both look so alike physically, I was caught by surprise that you're a woman you're a woman and you don't understand one word I'm saying, so you have no idea how embarrassed I am. He looked at Turek, who looked lost. You didn't get that either, did you? Too fast? Tell her I'm sorry. I didn't mean to look at her, emotioned. Turek spoke to her, then she gave something that on a human you would call a shrug as she responded. Not mind, Turk said. Maybe being ogled wasn't the faux pas with Kelsirian that it was with humans? If it was the only way they could tell gender apart, then it would make sense that their culture would incorporate it, right? How about we head to engineering? Go work. Yes. Turk headed into the ship and Alex followed. Whoa. That's a character jump. And Jeremy followed him. He was still impressed by how large the corridor was. It could be halfway, if not a it could be a hallway, if not a concourse at this size. And he figured it was why he only realized there were more Kelsirians staring at him than the day before. Did someone spread the news I was working here? Spread. Thurek searched and shrugged. Jimmy motioned around. More people than yesterday, I mean. Thurek consulted his tablet. Work end. Okay. Maybe he was slightly earlier today. Start of people going home instead of after they left. Am I misremembering, or did you not speak this well yesterday? I'll learn more. The Kelsirian answered in a tone that made it sound like it wasn't impressive. His vocabulary had improved so much overnight. I think, yeah, that had to be why he'd been assigned to him. They reached engineering to find a dozen Kelsirian working. I thought you said their day was done. Soon, ending. Okay. He took a step toward the reactor and stopped. No, that doesn't work. Yesterday they arrived after I'd been here for a few hours. I find it hard to believe your nights around 4 hours. Different time. What do you mean? More here, less you. Turk had his tablet and was doing something while Jeremy tried to work out what he could have meant. While that happened, Jeremy felt others' eyes on him while they left. Turek motioned and brought up to circle. That you, he said, a word Jeremy didn't understand. That me. He divided each circle. Jeremy counted 24 wedges on one, and the one for him, and 28 in Turek's. You have more hours than us in your day. And he realized that didn't even take into account how fast they counted time. He could be waking Turk up at crazy hours, forcing him to be there when he arrived. But he didn't know what else to do. Short of creating a new clock they both agreed to, one of them would always be out of sync. The best he could do was the best he could do was do the best he could manage. The best he could manage was to do. Do is a very easy word to slip everywhere. Was to finish. Was to finish the repair as quickly as he could, so Turek could return to his regular life. Yeah, do almost always wants to be replaced. Let's finish. Why do you not? Best thing he could do was to was finish the repairs as quickly as he could, so Turek could return to his regular life. All right. I want to start with however you control the power generated by the reactor, so it doesn't blow every circuit in engineering. The Kelsirian's confusion reminded him that, as improved as his lexicon was, he wasn't fluent. Right. Let's simplify that. And that concludes Chapter 15 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is up on Ream Story. And if you want to listen to them live, it's to this live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.